Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock on a Sunday. It's time for a review show special. And today I'm doing a review show special on something that a lot of people have been asking for, and that is a particular creator. And the creator in question is Kyle Purnell. Now, if you don't know who Kyle Purnell is, I interviewed him on Talk Magic. So if you want to go check out the Talk Magic interview, you can do. He's an incredible creator. He lectures literally all over the world. He's done a Penguin Live, he's done Out the Table lecture, he's released Dropped Call by Ellusionist, which is one of the best tricks that have come out in the last year. He's just an incredible creator. Now, obviously, he's brought out a lot of high-profile stuff, like his At the Table lecture with Murphys, and Dropped Call was obviously very high-profile, which me and Rylan reviewed on the review show. However, there's a lot of other stuff that's come out that Kyle's actually released that maybe you might not have seen. So what I wanted to do in this review show special is take 4 of Kyle's products that you might not have seen before. These are available from various different companies as downloads, and perform them for you, and basically showcase them, perform them, and then give them a review. I will tell you right now, I'm a big fan of Kyle's material. However, this review is completely honest. And I said that to Kyle when I reached out to him and I said, look, I want to do a review show special on you. I said, look, I'm going to be completely honest. I generally like your stuff, but if I don't, I'm gonna give my honest opinion. Now, what I've done is I did a little mini interview with Kyle, different to the Talk Magic interview that was on a couple of months ago. And this is specifically about his creation. So this is specifically about some of the stuff that you're going to be seeing on this review show special. So I asked him about the various different stuff that he's released, how he came about to create it, where it all came from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play that interview for you right now, so you can have a look at Kyle's creative process. And then when we've done that, we'll come back to the studio, and I've taken 4 products and I'm going to give a review to each one of the 4 products. So let's first have a look at the interview, the mini interview with Kyle Purnell. So I'm here with the legend himself, Mr. Kyle Purnell. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing wonderful, man. It's the best day of my life.
Well, you know what? I appreciate that. As you had a kid 2 weeks ago, and this is the best day of your life on a Zoom call with me. That's exciting. That's exciting.
That's fair enough.
Well, you know what? Thanks so much for finding the time. Obviously, you're super busy creating magic. You're super busy doing everything else that you do. And obviously, you're a new dad. So, you've got so much going on, and yet you're still finding time to do this. So thank you very much.
Of course I would, man. I'm a big fan of the channel, and I'm ready to get started, man.
Rock. So I'm going to be reviewing a lot of your products. And what we want to do here is just talk to you a little bit more about the products and how they came about, and just find out your take on them before I review them. Would that be okay with you?
Sounds
Brilliant.
perfect.
Because you've bought a lot of stuff out. I've obviously reviewed some of your things before. I think one of the first things that made me a fan of yours is Dropped Call, which you bought out through E. Absolutely fantastic trick. You did it with Zach, obviously. And I was speaking to Gary Jones. I don't know if you know Gary Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it's his favorite opener now. He opens with that, like,
That's crazy.
Yeah, he does.
That's great. Yeah.
So awesome. But obviously, you've been creating for a lot of time before Dropped Call even came out. And a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be reviewing kind of flew under my radar. So I'd like to find out a little bit more about things from your point of view. And the first one I want to talk about is Pip Streak. Talk to me about Pip Streak.
Pip Streak is something that I was really excited about when I kind of made a discovery, because it uses different components and aspects of playing cards to make a visual effect that you wouldn't think is possible with just an ordinary deck of cards. So it is my take on a 2-card transposition, which I love transpositions. I've got way more transposition effects than I should in my repertoire. My brain just kind of goes towards the transposition kind of structure of things. This is one of my favorite transpos that I've ever created. One, because it is completely impromptu. You don't have any dupes or anything. And 2, it allows for a really kind of crazy visual that I would think that a lot of people would think that a gimmick is evolved, but because of the handling and the different aspects and characteristics of the cards that we are taking advantage of, it's you don't need a gimmick. And so I'm actually quite proud of this one. And it looks good on video, but actually it looks really good in person as well.
And it's great when you've got a trick that looks good in person and it also looks good on video. You know, I'm not going to say I hate it, but I see so many tricks where if the camera's just at one particular angle and the sun is in the sky at this exact point, then it looks great. But outside of that, never try and perform in the real world. That's not the case with your stuff. It's commercial.
Yeah, well, I thank you. I appreciate that. So this is one of the, and it's one of those things though that's sometimes you might get a little bit nervous as the performer because I'd say it has a good 180 viewing angle, but from your angle, it looks terrible, right? But from the spectator's point of view, it, in my opinion, one of the most magical things that I perform.
And you know what? I've noticed that about you. We talked briefly about this on your main interview when you came on Talk Magic, but we talked about how a lot of your work is taking something that looks like you're using a gimmick, but you're not using a gimmick. You're using sleight of hand and regular props in order to achieve the same thing, which is really kind of an interesting way of approaching creativity and approaching creating a trick.
Well, it all stems from the fact that my life is in shambles and I've got no organizational system whatsoever. So I can't maintain gimmicks. I break gimmicks. I lose gimmicks. So if I need to be prepared to perform at a moment's notice, I just got to make sure I have impromptu methods.
Amazing. So after Pip Streak, the next one I want to talk to you about is Hancock, because this is an older item, but researching it, there's a lot of people talking about this on the internet really positively, and I'm like, how did I miss out on this? Can you tell me more about Hancock?
Hancock legitimately is my favorite creation ever, because to me it ticks all the boxes. It is completely impromptu. It uses a borrowed bill, and you can give it back as an impossible souvenir. So you can give it an impossible souvenir with a really unique aesthetic and really unique markings on it. I don't want to give the effect away too much, but you can do this without any preparation, without having to bring anything along, and you still have a kind of crazy visual moment again, without the use of any gimmicks. The downfall, of course, is that it really is designed for American currency. That said, though, in the download, we also provide a PDF to do the same effect with a blank sheet of paper with the markings already on it. So you would change the premise a little bit, but the mechanics still work the same way. And so that way you can do it anywhere you are in the world.
And so does it weaken the effect doing it with a blank piece of paper, or can you frame it so it is just as strong?
You can absolutely frame it in the same way, because actually, to be honest with you, it's not really even a money trick, right? It's a moving ink effect that I always borrow a bill for, but the bill is not actually the magic part. It's the ink on the bill. So actually, if you're doing it without the bill, there is the sacrifice that you have to make, which is you have to carry them along with you. You can't borrow it. But actually, premise-wise, I might even argue that it's a little bit more clear, because you don't have to worry about justifying a bill or anything. It's literally just ink on a piece of paper, which is actually kind of more pure.
That's super exciting. And a lot of people know you as a card magician. And you do a lot of stuff with card. Well, you do a lot of stuff with card. There's a lot of card that you bring out. But this is a bill routine. So this is a money routine, which is not money, paper, moving ink, whatever. Sure. It uses paper.
Yeah. It uses paper. I always do it with the bill, so I can borrow it. But it's so nice to know that you have because you know how impromptu routines sometimes get a reputation for, it's impromptu, so that means it's not quite as powerful as if something you prepared for. But in this case, I do this in my professional gigs too. It's one of those things that I get really excited when someone has $1 I can borrow, because I know that I can go straight into this and leave them with a souvenir that they're going to remember for a long time.
You know what? I love tricks where you give them a souvenir that actually is something that they want to keep, not a beer-soaked playing card that's been folded into 15ths and has like a signature scrawled on it. Yes, you can keep this. Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah. Or it's the card with the corner too. I'm like, okay, am I supposed to keep both of them? Do I just keep the corner, or do I staple them together? Or like sometimes it is awkward. Like, just because you can give out something doesn't mean you should.
Absolutely.
But I would argue that this is a pretty good thing to give out, especially because you borrow it.
Well, talk to me about Elimination Experiment. What's all that about?
Elimination Experiment is a packet mentalism effect.
There's two words that don't normally go together.
No, it's not. You really don't have those too much. Obviously, the grand master one is Max Maven's Wave, right? Mm-hmm. And I actually talked about this on my Penguin lecture, how you would be a fool to say that Wave is not a killer effect. It is just killer, right? But talking about what you value as a priority, in my opinion, and when I'm performing something, let's say a mentalism packet trick, which in this case is the 5 ESP symbols. I personally don't want to limit the choices even further than already 5, because 5 is not a huge number anyway, right? So if someone's going to pick out of 5 shapes, I don't necessarily want to use equivocate to narrow it down even more, right? That's just a personal preference. So I designed this to, 1, go away from playing cards, use ESP cards, and 2, be able to do it without equivocate. And so it's an absolutely free choice. And because of the method, you actually get a second phase and a second magical moment as well. And I will also say in the Penguin lecture, I go over this, and I actually offer a 2.0 version that I actually only do now. So the original one on Elimination Experiment, really good, in my opinion. I guess, of course, I would say that, but Elimination Experiment 2.0 on the Penguin lecture goes over a way to end absolutely completely clean.
So if somebody's going to buy your Penguin lecture, I'll talk about that in a second, would they still be advised to buy Elimination Experiment, or could they get everything that they need off the Penguin lecture?
I would say it would be up to them. The 2 reasons that you might want to still buy Elimination Experiment, 1, because it comes with all the cards you need. They aren't gimmicked, but if you don't have blanks or ESP cards, you might want to get some of those. And the other reason is it comes with a really, really cool bonus effect called calculator cards that is not taught on the lecture. So you get both routines for $20 in the Elimination Experiment. So I would totally go for that if that's something you're interested in. If not, I'm not offended.
Now, while we're talking about Penguin, you've got 2 projects out that are kind of multi-effect lectures, live lectures. You've got the new one that's only just come out recently, which is your Penguin Live. By the way, congratulations. You've made it with a Penguin Live.
Yeah.
But also, you've done a Murphy's at the Table. So you've done the 2 big kind of live lectures. You've done both of them.
Yeah.
Is there a crossover of material? Is one very different to the other one? If people are thinking about getting a Kyle Purnell fix, is the one that you'd recommend over the other one? Can you talk to us the differences?
No, man, that's a really good question. There is very minimal carryover. There's only one thing that I would say is similar, and it's a similar method, but the effect that I teach is different. Besides that, every single other thing on both lectures is completely different from each other, which is pretty exciting to me. The other thing that you should know, I really love the material on the At the Table lecture. As maybe a skosh more than the Penguin lecture, even though I love the material on that too, or else I wouldn't have put it in there. But I think overall, I really love the Penguin lecture more, just because I love to do lectures that aren't just about teaching tricks. It's not a trick lecture; it's a magic lecture, right? So I think we have a burden as someone who lectures to try to teach everybody to be the best magicians that they can talking about whatever subject we might have the authority on. And so I certainly don't have authority to talk about a lot of things, but one thing I think I do have authority on is to talk about creating magic and just the concept of method itself. So we do a really deep dive into method itself and prioritizing things and what makes one method superior to the other. Is there such thing as a perfect method? Is there why would somebody pick one method and someone else pick a different one? And what is the what's the criteria that you need to know for yourself to pick the best method that is going to suit you, your style, and the settings that you work. So that deep dive is probably the reason that I really, really love the Penguin lecture. I'm really happy with how it came out.
And you know what? I was speaking to David Jonathan on this channel recently, and he raved about the Penguin lecture that you did. And he was using examples of what you were talking about on there, and when he was talking about his own token effect. So, you know,
That's crazy.
So that's cool.
Well, he's a crazy creator in his own right. So I'm going to say that he's absolutely amazing, and I appreciate that.
Well, I've got one last thing that I want to talk to you about that I'm going to be reviewing before we move back to the studio. Tell me about Blank Inside.
Blank Inside is my variation on Dean Dill's Blizzard effect, which I absolutely love, but there are some method considerations that was not actually kind of my cup of tea. So I wanted to make sure that I got a method that didn't use any of the traditional methods for this. I'm certainly not going to go too in-depth on other methods, but I certainly didn't want to do any deck switches or have any gimmicked cards, and I didn't want to do any forcing or equivocate, which I know is a tall order, but in order to do this, I needed to sacrifice something else, but in my opinion, it's a very small sacrifice, and it elicited the effect that I wanted, and it still gets really kind of really crazy reactions. And to me, what's really important is when you do that kind of effect, you have to let the audience examine the deck. And it's absolutely possible with this kind of effect. Again, I shifted the premise just a little bit in order to attain the method parameters that I wanted. And so I'm very happy with how it came out.
Well, Blizzard is an absolute classic of Magic, but you are right. There's certain elements of that trick that has made it not workable for me. And it's a shame because I would love to do that routine because the ending is so strong. So I'd love to see your thinking on that. That sounds amazing, Kyle. It really does.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, well, you know what? This has been amazing. I'm really looking forward to delving into this material. And I know that you've got lots of other stuff coming out in the near future. On your main interview, when we spoke to you on Talk Magic, you showcased something that's coming out through Vanishing Inc soon. But I know you're working with pretty much everyone. You're throwing yourself out there. There's a lot of stuff coming out. Kyle Purnell is absolutely everywhere, and it's wonderful to see. So I've got a feeling I'm going to be doing a second review show special on you soon because you're going to have so much material out. I'm going to have to cover all that as well. So
that'd be great, man.
So thank you so much for coming on the channel. Really appreciate it. And yeah, you are a great guy. So thank you, Kyle.
Right back at you, man. I wouldn't be on the channel if I didn't love what you're doing and if I wasn't a huge fan of yours. So thanks so much, and keep up doing what you're doing because I love watching.
Thanks, man. Let's go back to the studio and I'm going to review all of those tricks we just spoke about.
Sounds good. Fingers crossed.
So there you go. So first of all, thank you very much, Kyle, for letting me interview you. I really appreciate that. That was amazing. Thank you very much. And now we're going to be having a look at 4 Kyle Purnell products. Now, the first product that I'm going to be looking at is going to be his Penguin Live Act, because this has only just recently come out. This is as of the time of filming. This was released about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And, you know, there's so many Penguin acts these days. And I really like the format of the Penguin Lives because it allows the performer to really kind of do a deep dive into material. And what Kyle has done here is he has taken advantage of that medium completely. This is very, very different to his At the Table lecture. I'm not going to be talking about his At the Table lecture on this particular video. I'm going to be talking about his Penguin Live video. But if you've ever seen his At the Table, his Penguin Live is very, very different. It's hosted by Dan Harlan, and who's a great host. And it's very cool seeing the bounce back and forth between Dan and Kyle. And what I want you to understand about Kyle's Penguin Live act is it's not just about tricks. Oh yeah, there's some great tricks there. I'm going to perform one of them for you in a minute. There's some amazing tricks, but it's not just about tricks. It's also about the understanding how to be more creative with your magic, which is a question that I get all of the time on this channel. People ask me all the time, how can you be more creative? What's the process you go through to create? And I've always said the same thing on the channel. There's not really a creative process that you can go through. Well, apparently I'm wrong, because Kyle breaks down a creative process that you can actually go through. And he starts off by using a prop. He has these scales, and he uses these scales to put across sacrifices that you're willing to make. The point he makes is that no trick is perfect, and there's no such thing as a perfect method, and so you have to come up with sacrifices. What are you prepared to sacrifice in the trick in order to make it the perfect trick? So he goes back and forth with this concept, and then he actually brings a pad out and he goes into charts, and he goes into depth about how you actually create a product and how you actually create a trick. Now, there's so many magicians that want to be more creative and that want to create their own magic. This is really useful. If there were no tricks on it and it was just this, I would be recommending this. But the fact that there's some amazing tricks on there as well is great. I'm actually going to be following Kyle's method. I've been creating magic for years, but I'm actually going to be following Kyle's method because I think it's incredible. Now, I'm not going to go through every single trick on the download because there's a whole bunch of them. However, he does go through some interesting handlings of the Elimination Experiment that I'm going to be talking about later on. He's also got a killer, and I mean killer, transposition where two selected cards change places, but one is held in between the jokers, and it all happens in the spectator's hands. But it's not just that the cards transpose, but the quantity of the cards in the person's hand transposes as well. It's almost a perfect walk-around trick. It really is. It's really, really cool. He's also got a really nice pen through bill, or pencil through bill, which is completely ungimmicked. And he uses this as an example to talk about his creative process, and he talks about the sacrifices that he made in order to take the things that were important about the trick and focus on those. I don't want to go too much into it, you need to get the download, but he then presented this pencil through bill, which is one of the best pencil through bills I've ever seen. It's just brilliant. And then he went in, for my opinion, with the money shot. I mean, this is the standout trick on the download, in my opinion. He calls it the Dr. Daly's Nightmare, and it's basically his handling of the last trick of Doc Daly. Now, what's beautiful about this trick, what's really, really nice about this trick is it's only 4 cards. It's a packet trick style thing, so you bring it out, it's only 4 cards, it's examinable at the end, it's instantly reset, no table required. I mean, I'm gonna review this a little bit more in a second, but I'd like to perform it for you first of all. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring the camera a bit closer, I'm gonna perform this particular routine for you because I love this so much, and then I'll just round this whole review up on this particular product. So Sarah, I've got 4 aces here. Can you see the 4 aces?
I can.
Cool. So we've got the 2 red aces and the 2 black aces. Your job is to keep an eye on the 2 red aces and to keep an eye on the 2 black aces. Now, to make it easy for you, the red aces have actually got red backs and they say red on them. And the black ones have actually got blue backs and they say blue on them. I thought that would be really easy for you to follow what's going on.
I'm that stupid.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to make it easy for you. But I'll even tell you where to watch. You need to watch the red aces. Can you do that for me?
Yeah.
I'm going to take the 2 red aces and I'm just going to put them under my arm. We'll get back to them in a minute, okay? We're going to just work with the 2. We're just going to work with the 2 black aces, which have blue written on the back, yeah?
Okay.
And I want you to watch. Try and watch everything because it's going to happen on the count of 3. Are you ready? And the reason you're going to watch really carefully is because in a second you're going to do this yourself. Okay. So here we go. Watch. 1, 2, 3. That's when those 2 black aces change into the 2 red aces. Right. Seriously, that's when the 2 black aces changed into the 2 red aces, which is pretty cool. And that means that underneath my arm over here, I now have the ace of spades and the ace of clubs. The aces actually change places. Now, that was good. I mean, because whether the cards were face up or face down, you could see exactly what was going on. But I'm going to do it one more time. But this time, you're going to actually have a go at doing it yourself, okay? So I'll give these a little bit of a mix-up. Now, I want you to watch very carefully, Sarah, because you're going to do this yourself. Yeah. Do you see that card right there?
Yeah.
This card here is obviously a black ace. So we're going to put that one right there on the table. And then we'll take the other black ace. This one here is the other black ace, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm going to put that one on the table as well. And your job is to try and make the 2 red aces and the 2 black aces change places. Now, it's very simple. You're over there. I'd normally get you to rub the cards like I did, but because you're all the way over there, all you have to do is say the words go.
Go.
And they'll change places.
What now?
Yes, say it.
Go.
Yeah, but you need to be like a magician. Say it a little bit more confidence.
Go.
No, a little bit more confidence there, Sarah.
There was.
A little bit more.
Go.
That was more angry than confident, really, to be honest. But you know what? I see what the problem is. I see what the problem is. You kind of went halfway there. You have made them change places, but now the blue cards have the red aces on them, and the red cards have the black aces on them, and everything can be examined. So how good is that? I mean, I've performed the last trick of Doc Daly for years, and it's always been a killer routine. It really is. People just don't expect it. This takes it to the next level. I love the fact that you've got these cards and they blatantly say red and they blatantly say black on them. And you've got a really nice punchy 2-phase routine. The first phase, the cards change places. Then the second phase, they're trying to make the cards change places. And the faces of the cards change places. As I said, there's no table required. You can do it anytime, anywhere. In fact, a lot of Kyle's stuff is designed to be done standing up. It's a bit difficult for me actually performing it sitting down because it's designed to be done standing up. But it's an instant reset. It's examinable at the end. It's anytime, anywhere. You just put the cards in your pocket and you reset and you're ready to go again. You can do it into the spectator's hands. It's killer. It's absolutely killer. If this came out as a packet trick and was sold for like 15 quid, I'd buy it in a heartbeat and I'd be super happy with it. Like 15, 20 quid. The fact is that you're getting this just as part of the product says the world about it. I mean, I absolutely love this. This is the standout trick on the project for me, although they are all really good. The transposition I mentioned with the jokers, I'm going to be doing that as well. But also the information about learning how to be more creative, that is literally worth its weight in gold. So the Penguin Live Act, you can get it directly from Penguin Live. I'm giving this 100%. It is one of the best Penguin Lives. I'm planning on doing a video soon of the top 10 Penguin Lives that they've ever done. I'm telling you right now, this is absolutely going to be in the top 10 list. If you haven't got this already, go out and get it. So there you go. That's the first thing that we're going to be looking at, exclusive to Penguin Magic. Okay, so the next thing that I want to review is the Elimination Experiment. Now, the Elimination Experiment is a packet trick that was released through Cosmo Magic. I've been a big fan of Cosmo stuff for a long time. I didn't realise that him and Kyle worked together, but they worked together and brought out the Elimination Experiment, which is a really kind of interesting ESP trick. Now, when you buy it, it comes with the pre-made ESP cards and it comes with everything that you need to be able to perform it. I've actually made my own up, handwritten. And the reason I kind of went down that route is the presentation I am actually using, which is very much based on Carl's presentation. It makes sense to have cards that are kind of hokey and homemade, and you'll see that in the presentation in a minute. But this is basically a 2-phase packet trick. Again, like a lot of Kyle's stuff, it's you just have it in your pocket. You don't need a table if you don't want a table. It can be done in the spectator's hands. It's relatively easy to do, but it looks great. I mean, it looks absolutely great. I'm going to perform it for you first of all, so you can see what the 2 phases are like, and then I'll talk about the pros and the cons. Would you like to see the difference between magic and mind reading? Sure. The difference between somebody like Dynamo and somebody like Darren Brown? Okay, I'm going to show you the difference. Now, I have here cards, and you can see that I've drawn symbols on them.
Yeah.
Now, the symbols that I've drawn on them are ESP symbols. Now, the reason I hand drew them is because I'm not a mentalist. I do not own a set of ESP cards. ESP, by the way, stands for extrasensory perception. I had to Google that to find out. I'm not a mentalist. However, I think I can show you a little bit of mentalism if you'd like to see that, yeah? But I've hand made these cards. There's 5 altogether. There's a cross. There's some wavy lines, there's a star, a square, and a circle. 5 altogether, right? Now, what I want you to do is I want you to think of one of those symbols. Can you think of one of those symbols for me? What I want you to do is think of the one that you want to eliminate. We're going to eliminate one of those symbols. I want you to think of the one that we're going to eliminate. Now, there's no clever wordplay here. When I snap my fingers like this, you're going to name your symbol, and whichever symbol you name, we are going to eliminate it. So which symbol would you like to eliminate? Name it now.
The cross.
The cross. Now, are you sure? You can change your mind if you want to. The cross is this one right there. Would you like to change your mind, or are you happy?
No, I want the cross.
You want the cross. We're going to get rid of the cross, yes?
Yes.
Okay, and that was your choice.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to put the cross in my little shelf underneath the table. I'd normally put it in my pocket if I was standing. I'm not standing, so I'm going to put it down there. And you obviously had a free choice. You could have had anything.
Yeah.
If I told you ahead of time I knew you'd pick the cross, would you believe me?
No.
No, I really did. I really didn't know that you picked the cross because I didn't show you the other side of these cards. And actually written on the other side of the cards is a message. It says, you'll eliminate the cross. Which is pretty wacky, really, when you had a completely free choice. But there's a rule, but that's what a mentalist would do. A mentalist would predict the future. I'm not a mentalist. I'm a magician. I would do things very, very differently. That's how I do things, very, very differently. So I'll try and do the same thing again. We've already eliminated the cross, so the cross isn't there. We'll do it a different way. There's 4 cards here. Give me a number: 1, 2, 3, or 4.
3.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3 is that one right there, yes?
Yeah.
Can you just have a look at that for me? Can you see what the symbol is? Can the camera see what the symbol is?
See.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah.
Very good. I'm just going to put it back here. Now, obviously, I've got no idea what that symbol is. I really don't know. But I'm going to try and eliminate it. This is how a magician would eliminate your symbol. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Done. In actual fact, magicians always go one step further. I didn't eliminate your symbol. Your symbol was this one, wasn't it? The circle.
Yeah.
I didn't eliminate your symbol. I eliminated every other symbol on the cards. And you can examine everything. So that's the routine. Isn't that great? I absolutely love that. Now, I will tell you right now that in the original, excuse me, in the original elimination experiment, after you've done that first phase and you've shown the backs have got the message on, what you then do is you turn the cards round and you show the faces of the cards and they're all blank. But you can't have the cards examined at that point. Which isn't a problem because I don't think they'd want to examine them, but you can't have the cards examined. Then on the Penguin Live Act, Kyle talked about how you can do elimination experiment, but change the second phase to make it so that everything's examinable at the end. And the way that I actually did it for you is how I'm actually planning on doing it, which is that kind of version 2.0 that Kyle goes about on his Penguin Live, because that way everything's examinable at the end. You can examine everything, and it's like a 15-second reset as you put the cards away into your pocket. But I love that. I love the plot of sort of I know Kyle doesn't quite present it this way, but I love the idea of magic versus mentalism. I think that's really cool. I love the idea of doing a really strong mentalism trick and then showing them the same way that you do it if you're a magician. That's really cool. As a packet trick, it's great. Everyone who knows this knows that I love packet tricks. This is a really awesome packet trick. And that moment where you actually show the backs of the cards, genuine surprise. And they really think that the trick's over at that point. And then you turn the cards over and they've got blank faces. Like I say, it's an absolute killer. It really is. There's nothing negative to say about this. I will say that if you're one of these people that gets a trick, watches the download, watches halfway through and then stops and doesn't listen to all the additional information, don't do this with that. Don't do that with this particular trick, because if you actually watch the end, you'll see that Kyle has actually put on there as well a performance and exclamation of something called calculator cards, which is just absolutely bonkers. He talks about these calculator cards and they've all got numbers written on them, and the numbers kind of add up to the card that the person picks, and then you're getting them to press on this calculator and then it changes to words and then they multiply. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. It's just eye candy. It really is. It's very difficult to explain. I will be doing it on a Penguin Live. I will be doing it on a Magic Live at some point in the not too distant future. I don't think there's time to do it here. I've already got enough stuff to perform. But if you get the Elimination Experiment, make sure that you watch that calculator cards as well, because to be honest, he could have sold that as a product in its own right. But in terms of the Elimination Experiment, really great packet trick. Love the premise. Love the finale. Definitely going into my act. I'm going to give this 95%. I think this is killer. I think this is really, really strong magic that I think everybody will love. And the nice thing is, too, if you're a mentalist, you can play it up purely for mentalism. If you're a magician, you can play it purely for magic, or you can kind of find that line between the two. And it's not that difficult to do either. It's really not that difficult to do. In fact, in the actual instructions, Kyle talks about, at one point in one of the handlings, he uses an Elmsley count, and he talks about how you can actually do it without an Elmsley count. So he covers absolutely everything. Yeah, so that's the Elimination Experiment. You can get that with all the specially printed cards and everything that you need to perform it. You can get that from Cosmo Magic, and that's available from all good magic dealers. So the next thing we're going to be looking at now is Pip Streak. And what's Pip Streak? Well, Pip Streak is a download that you can get from Penguin Magic. And one thing that I have noticed that Kyle is very, very good at is it's creating magic that looks like there's a gimmick, but there are actually no gimmicks involved. All of the tricks that you're seeing right here, there's no gimmicks involved with the tricks. And he talks about this on his Penguin Live, about how he doesn't particularly like magic that's gimmicked. Well, this is a perfect example, because this looks like it's gimmicked. You know that thing that came out a little while ago with Peter Eggink that I absolutely hated, where the pips move and it broke on me within 5 minutes? Well, this kind of has a similar sort of look to it, but it's not in a plastic little bag, and there's no gimmicks. You literally could just use any deck of cards. You take out the 2 cards, you do this routine, you got this beautiful moment of eye candy, and then everything's examinable. Now, there is a bonus third phase in this particular trick that Kyle talks about on the download, and he says he doesn't do the third phase. He stops at the end of the second phase. I actually like the third phase, so I'm going to include the third phase in the performance. I will say this is another one that's not really designed to be done sitting down. You really want to be doing this standing up. I will try and do it sitting down for you. I think it'll be okay, but this is really one that you want to do standing up. But let me perform it for you first of all, and watch out for the second phase, because the second phase looks awesome. I have Sarah behind the camera. Hey, Sarah.
Hey.
I also have a deck of Providence playing cards here from the 1914, because if you're going to do card magic, let's use a really nice deck of cards to do it with. But I want you to watch really carefully, Sarah. I really want you to watch carefully, because I'm going to show you a trick, and then I'm going to break the unwritten rule of magic, and I'm going to teach you how it works. Would that be cool?
Yeah.
So this is the trick that I'm going to teach you. It's called a transposition. Now, I know you know a bit about magic, so you know what a transposition is. It's when 2 objects change places. Yeah. Exactly, it's when 2 objects change places. So that's what we're going to do. But we're not going to use the rest of the deck. We're just going to use the 2. We're just going to use the ace, okay?
Yeah.
And I want you to watch the 2. Can you see the 2 there?
Okay.
I'm going to keep it as far away from the ace as I can. But if I just shake it like this, when I do, it actually turns into the ace. You see, the ace and the 2 actually change places. It means that the card over here is now the 2. Now, that was pretty cool. But I said I was going to teach you how it works. Well, you see, how you actually make 2 cards change places, it's really easy. And I'm going to do it in slow motion, you'll see what happens. So if I just cover up the ace for a second, in fact, if I just give you... Can you see the pip on the ace, yeah?
Yeah.
If I just take that pip and pull, I can actually pull that pip down to the bottom of the card, and then when I rub the index, what happens is that pip actually changes into the 2. That card becomes the 2, which is incredible, which means that the card that's been here the whole time is the ace. That's the ace, that's the 2, and that's how it works. You just can't tell anyone. That's how it works. So now you know how to make 2 things change places, right?
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, if I just take these 2 cards and hold them in my hand and squeeze, do you know what happens?
No.
What actually happens is those 2 cards actually change into the 3. They actually morph together. That's the deck, that's the 3, and that is the trick. So how good does that look? I know when I first started practicing this, I was like, oh my gosh, is this going to work? And then I showed it Ryland, and he was like, oh my God, how did you do that? What's the gimmick? And then I showed it Sarah, and she was like, what's the gimmick? That's amazing. That looks so good. And I was like, there are no gimmicks. It's just regular cards. Ryland would not believe me that this is just regular cards. He was convinced that there was some sort of pip that you moved or something like that. No, it's just regular cards, and it looks so good. One thing that I will say that you need to be aware of is you need to have a new deck of cards to do this, or a newish deck of cards. You know, like at the end of the gig where you've had cards picked a whole bunch of times and they're looking a little bit worse for wear and a bit grubby and you're about to throw them in the bin. That is not the time to do this trick. You want to have like a newish, pristine pack of cards to do this. Other than that, this is probably out of the 4 routines that I'm looking at here, this is probably the one that's more difficult, more taxing. It's not ridiculous, it's not knuckle busting or anything, but it will require more work. Because there's a lot of stuff that you need to do precisely to make sure it works. The first phase is relatively easy. The second phase, you do need to have a little bit of work there, but it's nothing that you can't do. I've actually changed the handling slightly of the second phase to make it a little bit easier for myself. But I mean, you know, you don't have to do that. I'll probably, as I work on this over time, I'll have it looking better and better. But I mean, just the visual. So I went and did this at a wedding. I was doing a wedding on Saturday. Well, I was doing a few weddings this weekend, but one wedding in particular, it was outside. It was all mix and mingle, and I did this like 4 times, and I couldn't believe the reactions I got from it. It was killer reactions. When you do that thing, I just did it and just moved it up. People just couldn't believe it. I mean, it's so good. That visual, that's like the sort of thing that you see on social media magic, and yet it's as good live as it is on social media, and that's what's beautiful about this. So there you go. It's called Pip Streak. It's only like $10 or something like that. It's relatively inexpensive, and it's just a regular deck of cards, and this is a fun thing to practice. I was practicing this like probably 3 nights in a row when I was sitting there, and I was just like watching some TV with Sarah when the kids had gone to bed. I was just fiddling with these cards while I was watching it. I was trying to get my muscle memory to kick in, because I love this trick. Out of all of the tricks, I loved all of them that I'm reviewing here today, but this one in particular, I really wanted to get this down. But yeah, it's highly recommended. It's one of those things as well that where if you're out with your magic buddies and you show it your friends in magic and you show it your magic buddies, they're going to absolutely love this. They're gonna think this is incredible. So there you go. Yeah, that's called Pip Streak. It's available as a download. I'm going to give this 97%. I think this is really strong. It's going to be something that you're going to need to practice for a little bit, but when you get it down, anytime, anywhere. No table, instant reset, totally examinable, optional 3rd phase where you fuse everything together. What's not to love? And the final routine that we're going to be looking at is Kyle's version of Blizzard. Now, this is a download that you can get from Vanishing Inc. And this is clever. Now, I've played the principle that's at the core of this. I've actually played with this principle before. And when I watched what Kyle was doing, I was like, man, why did I not think of that? It's one of those routines that when you see it, you go, oh, I wish I'd thought of that. I wish I'd thought of that. And what it is, in essence, is it's Kyle's version of Blizzard. Now, if you don't know what Blizzard is, Blizzard was a routine that was created many, many years ago by Dean Dill. And it was a deck of cards where, during the course of a card routine, the entire deck turned blank except for a particular card that was picked. There's been lots of versions that have come out since then. Paul Harris's Avalanche is one that springs instantly to mind. I put a version of Blizzard on my blank DVD that came out over 10 years ago. This is very, very interesting because you can see Kyle's creativity at work here. You can see that he's thought about what are the sacrifices he's willing to make versus what are the features he wants the particular trick to feature, and you know, there's no need for a table with this. Like with Blizzard, you have to use a table. There's no need for a table. It's very easy to do. It's you know, in Blizzard there was a really ballsy move. There's no deck switch. Well, in Blizzard there was a deck switch. There's a lot of advantages over this. And you can see the one sacrifice he's made, and you know, you'll see the performance in a minute, but the sacrifice is you don't actually have someone name a card. But I don't think that's a sacrifice, because I think there's a million pick a card tricks out there. I really like the idea of somebody naming a card. Sorry, not naming a card, sorry, naming a number and going down the route that you're about to see. In fact, I'm not going to say any more. Let me just perform it for you very quickly, and then you'll see what I'm talking about, and we'll carry on with this review. And I have a deck of playing cards. Now, Sarah,
Yes.
I'm telling you right now, this is all about cheating. Okay.
Okay.
There is a way to cheat at playing cards. You know that I've studied cheating techniques in the past, right? So I'm quite good at cheating at cards. We're going to try and do something that is legendary when it comes to card magicians. It's a very difficult thing to do, and the reason it's so difficult is because it's not about a special dealing or anything like that. It's not about controlling playing cards. It's about a random number. So what I'm going to do is what I want you to do is I'm going to deal cards into two piles like this.
Yeah.
And there's a reason I'm doing that. But I want you, as I'm doing this, to name a number somewhere less than 30. It's up to you what number you name, and make it an interesting number.
I don't know about interesting. 12.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Do you want to change your mind, or are you happy with that?
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, 12?
Yeah.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Phone a friend. 50-50.
I just want 12.
Okay, no problem. Okay, I'm sorry. 12 it is. Okay, so I'm going to square up the cards. Do me a favour, actually. Actually, you're behind the camera. You're not going to be able to do that. I was going to ask you to square up the cards, but you're not going to be able to do that, are you? So let me just put the box over there. I'll square them up for you. Right, have a look at this. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Watch. The reason I asked you to name a number is because that's how many seconds I'm going to have to try and find the two most important cards in the deck.
Right.
I have that amount of time to find the two most important cards of the deck. So when you say go, I'm going to start looking for those two important cards. And what I want you to do is count out loud. 1, 2, 3, until you get to 12. And by the time you reach 12, I'll have found the two most important cards of the deck. I'm not going to do anything till you say go.
Go.
Count out loud.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Done. The two most important cards in the deck. Are you impressed?
Well, what are they?
Well, the two most important cards of the deck are right here. I was able to find the two most important cards in the deck.
Right.
You don't seem very impressed, so let me explain why this is more impressive. You could have named any number, didn't you?
Yeah.
And we shuffled the cards. And I managed to find two cards. What if I told you that number wasn't just the amount of time I had to find those two cards? But if I turn it over, that's an 8. And 8 and 4 is 12. And I was able to find those two cards that added up to the number that you named in 12 seconds, which is a pretty good trick. It's an even better trick when you consider that every other card in the deck is blank, and the only two cards that are actually printed in this deck are the 8 and the 4, which add up to the number that you named, and you can examine everything. So do you see what I mean about having them name a number instead of a card? I really like that. Now, when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, that's going to require so much memory work. There's absolutely no memory work at all. The method that's at play here is genius. And the method at play is designed so that almost immediately you're in a situation where you can cut, and you saw me doing some table cuts and up the ladder cuts and stuff like that. The nice thing about this is that you can reveal the cards however you want to. You don't have to use table cuts. You could be standing up and do normal cuts in your hand, or whatever revelations that you want to do are fine, as long as the cards stay face down, because you don't want them to see the faces until the end of the routine. But outside of that, you can reveal the cards. You can make the cards appear however you want to. I love the idea of having them name the card, and you say, hey, I'm going to take out some cards from this deck, the most important cards of the deck, and then you turn them over and it comes to the number that the person named. That's clever. That's really clever. And I'll tell you right now, when I did this, because Sarah's seen a million magic tricks. She's seen a million magic tricks. When I did this particular thing, you didn't see her behind the camera, and I turned over the 8 and the 4, and it was 12. She was like, yeah, all right. You could tell she wasn't particularly enamored, because she knows that a million different ways that I could do that, right, relatively easily. She knows that I could have the deck in a mem deck stack order, and I could just be cutting to the 8 and the 4. I listen to her card, and I just make sure that I cut to, you know, she actually said, oh yeah, I thought it was mem deck. It could be marked cards. It could just be that there's a stack at the top of the deck. I mean, there's a million ways that you can actually achieve what you saw, and so she was kind of a little bit unimpressed. And then when I turned the deck over and I showed that every single card was blank, she was kind of like, what? You saw her face suddenly change. And then after the filming, she actually said, yeah, so those are gimmick cards, aren't they? You can't really examine those cards. So I was like, no, sir, you can examine everything. And that's what's really nice about it. The second that you've produced those cards and you show the cards are blank, everything's examinable. And it's like a 10-second reset. You just put the cards back in the box. You need to do a little something as you walk away from the table, and then you reset, ready to go again. So for a restaurant worker, this is killer. Now, the way that I would probably use this is I would switch this in. So I'd be doing maybe a couple of other card routines, and then maybe as I go to get a coin to do a coin routine, I switch the deck, I put that to one side, I do something with the coin, and then I say, well, let's do one last card trick. Should we finish off with one last card trick? Then you do this card trick, you blow people away, and everything's examinable at the end. So yeah, I'm going to give this 90%. I think this is really good. I can't remember the last review show special where I did it on a particular artist where everything had over 90%, but I've got to be honest, I know I'm going to use these 4 tricks. I know I'm going to use these 4 tricks. I think they're all incredible. And this one in particular is a killer ending to a card routine. Blizzard has always been a brilliant ending to a card routine anyway. And this, for me, just takes it one step further and eliminates a whole bunch of negatives I had with that routine. So there you go. That's your final review of your final product. Let's wrap this all up. So there you go, guys. That is the Kyle Purnell review show special. Now, as I talked about in the interview, there is a whole bunch of other stuff that Kyle's got out. I could try and perform everything for you, but literally I'd be here for hours doing that. So I've tried to limit it to 4 products, and I've tried to highlight to you 4 products that I think are just killer for a close-up worker. But go and check out Kyle's products and Kyle's stuff all over. He's worked with Vanishing Inc, he's worked with Cosmo, he's worked with Penguin, he's worked with so many different companies, and he self-publishes things as well. So go check out his stuff. I know he watches this channel, so leave a comment down below and I'm sure he'll see it. And don't forget to support Kyle as well. You know, go and buy his stuff and make sure that you let me know what you think. If you want to see more review show specials, let me know who you want me to do a review show special on. Let me know which companies you want me to do a review show special on. Let me know what tricks you want me to do a review show special on. And I'm going to be back again tomorrow at, well, it's Monday tomorrow, so I'm going to be here at 2 o'clock with the shorts, 6 o'clock with Magic Live. I'm going to be here at 9 o'clock with a 5x5. So I'll see you again then. Thanks very much for watching. My name's Craig from Magic. See you